Welcome back, everybody. Today we're going to go over my brew day for my New England IPA. This is the first time I made a New England IPA. Most of the time I know for these kind of beers you should adjust your water profile. I don't know mine. I have not gotten it from the village or sent in for it. I have not tested it. I do have the stuff to test it, just I haven't done it yet. I wanted to see what it was going to turn out just with my regular water. I do want to get into, changing that water profile, but for this one, I just wanted to go with my base water and see what we get. So here we go. So here is the grain bill that I used for the New England IPA. 40.7% is 2-row. 40.7 is Maris Otter. 7.4% is Flaked Oats. 3.7 is Flaked Barley. 3.7 is Flaked Wheat. 1.9 is Honey Malt. Then 1.9 is Flaked Wheat. Now, I know you're going to say, well, wait a minute, something's wrong because we had Flaked Wheat at 3.7 and then Flaked Wheat at 1.9. Well, when I was building this recipe, I was trying to find another grain and I couldn't find it in Beersmith. So what I did, I just put the Flaked Wheat on there again, and that's what I went with. And here are my notes. So if anything, if you wanted to combine the two Flaked Wheats and go ahead and get that percentage of grain, as that's what I did. And I don't remember what I was looking for. I did build this recipe over a couple days by going online, looking at certain ones, and I picked out the ones I wanted. So there you go. There is the grain bill that we're going to start with. We'll get into the hops when it gets to that point. So obviously, I do crush all my grains by hand. Some of the videos might look a little weird. I could have swore I was using my GoPro and my phone to record, and I'm not sure what I did with a lot of the GoPro footage. So some of them that you're seeing probably look odd. But crush everything. I do not crush my oats. What I do is once everything's crushed, I put them in there and just mix it up, and that's good. So on this one, Beersmith calls for 4.84 gallons of water for the mash in, and the mash in temperature for this is going to be 154. So if you guys have been watching any of my other brew day videos, you'll know with the new system or the new parts that I've gotten, I've had a hard time hitting my temperatures, just trying to dial it in. This one went pretty smooth. I was a little bit high on the temperature for the mash in, so I just added some ice cubes and I did hit the 154. And what I've been doing is doing an underlet. I do let the water come in from the bottom, and it does seem to help a little bit with dough balls, but I can still say in this one I did have dough balls, so I did have to break all those up. So this one is a 60-minute rest, which we did let it do, and then we started our Vorloff. Once I got that clear, which was probably about 2 of those pitchers, I then let it obviously go into the actual boil kettle, and I did dump my mash out water into the hot liquor tank so that could be ready to go. So my first runnings, if I look at my notes, so my first runnings on this one was 17 bricks, and I drew off 3.5 gallons of water. So almost the grain soaked up about a gallon, maybe a little bit more. So once that was all drained in, then I did pour my mash out water right in there. I stirred it up. I did let it sit for 15 minutes like I did in the pecan brew day or the raspberry brew day. And that way everything gets a chance to mingle in there. And then I did my second floor off. Now this one, I did not take a note on what the gravity, or nope, I did. So the second runnings came out to be 6.5 bricks. So once I drew everything off, my pre-boil water level is 8 gallons. Now this is a little bit higher than what Beersmith has. They have 7.75 gallons and I had 8. And actually on this one, I did want to bump it up some because I know there's a lot of dry hopping in this. So I wanted to make sure that I got my 5 gallons at the end. So going into pre-boil. So the pre-boil gravity on this was 1043. Going by Beersmith, they say my pre-boil gravity should be 1051, so I was off some on that, but again, it's home brewing, it's fine, we'll go with it. I did have extra water, so that's probably why I diluted mine a little bit more, because of the 0.25 gallons or a little bit more that I started my pre-boil with. Okay, so here is the hop bill. 60 minutes, so start of the boil is going to be Warrior, and that's going to be 5.5 ounces. The alpha acid on the Warrior that I used was 15.4. Then the next set of hops to be added is at the end of the boil, so 0 minutes, flame out. Okay, so we're going to go over something just real quick before we get into that. This recipe uses Galaxy hops. I could not get Galaxy hops because they are not in season yet. So if you know you're going to make some IPAs or some New England IPAs and you can get a pound of Galaxy hops, you better get them, because I think they're an Australian hop or New Zealand hop, and their seasons are opposite of ours. So it's summer here, it's winter there, they're not ready yet. So if you can find a fresh pound or whatever of Galaxy, I would go ahead and buy it no matter what the cost is if you really want that Galaxy. So on this one, I had to substitute for El Dorado hops. So at 0 minutes is our next hop addition, and that will be 1 ounce of Citra, 1 ounce of El Dorado, and 1 ounce of Mosaic hops. Now my Citra hops, the alpha level is 13, the beta is 3.8, the El Dorado, the alpha is 12.5. I do not know the beta because it wasn't on the package, as you guys can see. The Mosaic alpha is 13.6 and the beta is 3.6. So after we add those, our next one is a 30-minute Whirlpool or steep, and that is at 160 degrees. Now this was kind of a pain for me. This is the first time I've done it. What I had to do was stir it and let it sit until we hit 160. I did not put the lid on my kettle. I just stirred and let it sit until I hit 160. So once we hit 160, we're gonna steep for 30 minutes. And that is going to be 1 ounce of Citra, 1 ounce of El Dorado, and 1 ounce of Mosaic. And what I did with this is, since it's supposed to be a Whirlpool, every 5 minutes I took the ladle and stirred it to make a Whirlpool. And like I said, I did that every 5 minutes for 30 minutes. So this brew day is going to take you a little bit longer if you plan on doing it, just because of this Whirlpool addition. So once that 30 minutes was up, what I did, I ran it through the plate chiller, got it down to temp, and got it into the carboy. I love the color on this. I think it turned out perfect. So once I got it in, everything in the carboy, I did take a gravity, and I think I was around 16 bricks. I did not write it. It's pretty much right on point with what Beersmith wanted me to be at, so we're all good. If anything, I think the water level, or my wort, was a little bit low going into the carboy, but hey, we'll go with what we have. So now this New England IPA has 2 dry hop schedules. So what I did after I got it in the carboy, I did pitch the yeast. The yeast on this one is WLP007, which is dry English ale yeast. And because it's dry, or it says it's dry, but it is a liquid, I did make a starter for this, let it go for 24 hours, and then I put it in. Obviously, I started my starter 24 hours before brew day. So now on this, for the dry hop, what you want to do, you want the yeast to scrub all the hot dry hops that you're putting into this. So about 3 days, almost when fermentation is done, you want to do your first dry hop. I think it was 3 or 4 days after fermentation started is when I added my hops. Now what I did, I wanted to try it because I've really never done this before, is the first dry hop is 1 ounce of Citra, 1 ounce of Mosaic, and 1 ounce of El Dorado hops. I did put them in a muslin bag. I did tie it tight, you know, real compact in there. I know that you usually want to tie it loose so that way those everything can mix together. I just wanted to try it. I did put it in there without marbles or without nuts. It did float, but I think it worked out fine. So 2 days later, I added the second dry hop, and that is 2 ounces of Citra, 1 ounce of Mosaic. And this time, what I did was I made a big muslin bag so that way those hop pellets could expand. I also put 4 marbles in there, and then I was hoping it would sink. Well, it never did sink, so if you are going to do this using marbles, this is my first time, make sure you put more than 4 in there, because like I said, I thought it was heavy. It wasn't. It floated on top. It still turned out okay. The smell came out okay. And then after 2 days, so after you put in your second dry hop, you want to let this sit for the 2 days, and then it's ready to keg. So that's where it is now. It is in the keg getting ready to be drank. I will test it after a week or 2, and we'll have the first review of that. This beer did finish at a 6.48%, and I was pretty close. I think Beersmith wanted 6.5, so we're good to go on this. We'll let it carb up and go from there. Now, one thing I do want to mention, as I said in the beginning, that the color going into my carboy looked correct for not putting any adjuncts or additions, changing my water profile. I can say right before I was going to keg this, so the last day, it went from that nice orange color to like a tannish color. So I did have some of that color drop out, so we'll see what it looks like on tasting day. I hope it comes back some. It is hazy. When I was transferring it, I could tell it was hazy, but we'll have to see what happens when we get to the drink or the tasting. So that'll wrap up this brew day. Hope you guys liked it. Let me know if you guys have any questions, and until next time, happy brewing. Thank you for watching this video. Thumbs up if you liked it, thumbs down if you didn't. Leave me a comment down below to tell me what you thought about this video. Also, don't forget to subscribe and share, and hit that bell so you know when new videos are coming out. You can check out these videos over here. Also, head over to 31stbrewing.com for everything beer and home brewing related.